Puny human, this is Morbo the newscaster. On tonight's news, you're listening to Still Toking with on the Dorkening Podcast Network. I will destroy you.
Every 10 or 15 years, a film is produced that is so overwhelming, so forceful in its impact, that it becomes deeply embedded in the mind.
Persons under 18 will not be admitted.
This is Kenny Lee Lewis from the Steve Miller Band.
Hey, what's up? This is Jeremy Palco from The Walking Dead, and this is Still Toking With.
Hey everybody, this is Anson Williams, and I'm going to be on Still Toking With on Dorkening Podcast Network. Be there.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. We have very active lifestyles. It's not all wandering the countryside aimlessly or scaring passing motorists. And we all love a good cup of joe. And there's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. Bold, robust, delicious. It's coffee that can wake the dead. With over a dozen different roasts and flavors, Deadly Grounds can satisfy the most finicky of coffee addicts. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Oops. Yeah, it's Wednesday, everybody. And as always, you know, Leo's not here to push the wrong buttons, but I am. So,
somebody's got to do it.
Well, right, you know. And yeah, I screwed up the whole beginning of this, and hey, it's just the way it goes. Too bad.
What was supposed to happen? I missed it.
Well, normally it would come in like this, and I'd go, "Hey, it's Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the show." But, you know, I kind of screwed that up right off the get-go. So I'm just going to go like this.
Well, you did it already, but
Yeah.
I did ask you for the intro. So now you got to do both. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. So, yeah, as you can see, folks, nobody up here is who's supposed to be here, but that's okay. They are supposed to be here. So let's welcome my man, Rico.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Ben. I appreciate it, man.
Y'all know Pops Van Zant down in the corner, the madman himself, and our amazing guest, Stuart Fratkin. Did I say that correctly?
That's my name, Stuart Fratkin. That's it. It's
Look
really
at
hard
that.
to screw that up. But you almost did, I guess. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you know, I could have put an N in there and said Fratkin or something, you know.
That's true. Or you could have said Franklin, which, you know, I get sometimes. Or if I'm at Starbucks, my name is George. So there's
George.
that.
My name is George. Why George?
George.
Fuck knows. But
Why do they want to know my name? I just want some coffee. Why do
it's
they got to know my name?
It's one of those like classic, like, what's your name, Stuart? And then I get it. And I get my cup and it says George. So, and it's happened a couple of times. So I assume it's me.
So my question is George's coffee just as good as Stuart's?
Well, it's one and the same, Ben. So
It is what
I just want to make sure. Just want to make sure, you know. No, I ordered the Americano. Why do I have a frozen latte? What the hell's going on here?
Well, an Americano, come on. Americano is just coffee with water, right? That's what I learned when traveling throughout Europe.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. That version of it.
What? You don't want to taste the tears of the peasants that pulled up those seeds, bro? Like, they're amazing. Just remember, Ben, you invited me.
You're right. I did. Shit.
Listen, guys, I don't have anything to compare it to, so what I've seen thus far, I'm thrilled. And that intro was awesome.
That was all the man behind the keyboard, Mr. Leo Pond, the producer and owner and the man that runs the Dorkening Podcast Network.
That was awesome. That was
he does an amazing job for us. Every season, I'll call him up in December. This is my co-host.
Jeff?
Yeah, hope you're feeling better. You know,
Hey, Jeff, we miss you.
I don't miss you. If you don't feel that well, you shouldn't be on Facebook. What are you doing? Messaging me. You should be in bed.
He's probably in bed with his feet up.
And Jeff, the question, the $64,000 question is,
what was that, Stuart?
I was going to say, do you have COVID?
No, he's got, he gets like really bad sinus infections and chest colds from it.
Oh.
So it's kind of sitting, he said he's kind of sitting right here.
That sucks.
And I kind of hope it drops like out of him because we hit the road Friday for a 3-day cannabis event at Mohegan Sun.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Who invited you?
You did, remember?
Oh, I did. You're right. But it's not about us or our co-hosts. And it's about this amazing gentleman down here or over here, depending on where you're watching us. In the amazing career that you've had. I mean, like I'm looking at my show notes and you've been in just about every single TV show that I have ever fucking watched. Like, seriously.
From the 80s, yes. From the 80s and the 90s, I did quite a bit of TV and some film, yeah.
I got a question right from the get-go from one of them older shows.
Go for it.
Sliders, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Sliders was one of my favorite shows. Jerry O'Connell, I mean, he's a comic book guy. So, I was kind of happy when they made Sliders into a comic book. What was it like working with those guys? Because that looked like a fun cast to hang out with.
You know what? I think the majority of my scenes were not with the main cast. What I do remember was filming at Universal and looking over the San Fernando Valley where Universal Studios is located. And, at that time, a lot of what I was doing, a lot of those guest spots were for money. And eventually, coincidentally enough, I met a director on an audition for a commercial shoot named John Landis, who produced that show. And so that was one of the reasons why I got hired to be in this commercial with John. And then I subsequently went on to work with him like 5 more times after that. So that's about the connection. That's the only connection I can make as far as Sliders is concerned. Otherwise, to be honest, I don't even remember watching it. Episode.
That's cool though. That's cool though. You had something that came out of that turned into more and more work. You know what I mean? It's like, so I'm glad I brought it up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's rare. I will tell you one podcast I did a year or so ago. The podcaster said he talked to his mom and dad about who he was going to interview. And his mom and dad said he was on a show called Adam 12. And this was the reboot of Adam 12.
The new Adam 12.
And I was blown away because that in all of my years, and I'm 59. Yeah. I've never had anybody ever say the new Adam 12 to me other than, me.
When I looked at your bio, I noticed that I'm 20 days older than you.
No shit.
20 days. I'm the second. You're the 22nd. So for all them Virgos from the year of the rabbit, right? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I'm right on the cusp.
Yeah, he is. He's right on the cusp. If we had kicked him a little longer, he would have been in my category of the Libras.
Yeah, Libra.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you were on a ton of TV shows. I mean, The Facts of Life.
Yes.
I mean,
Touched by an Angel, I believe.
On different things.
Yes.
Right. Matlock. I mean,
yes.
Knots Landing, Quantum Leap. We could just go on forever, you know.
Yeah.
Old school. Those are old school.
Yeah.
Shows.
Well, I'm 50, so that's my era.
Oh God, am I the youngest person in here?
Yes, you are. You're the baby. You're the baby. You know.
All right. Then.
And I be the oldest if you'd like, Rico.
Hey man, my age is about to show.
Back. Yeah, I still go back and watch a lot of those TV shows.
There was a lot of those shows that you did 1 or 2 or 3 episodes, but the one that stands out to me is they came from outer space.
I was gonna ask that. That was Pops. You beat me to it. No, Pops. Do you have something?
Go, Rico.
Do you want me to go?
Go.
Yeah, Mr. Stewart. That was a great show for the time that it was in, because that show was basically also competing. Was Friends in 91 or 94?
94.
Okay, then never mind. I forgot what other show was competing in 91 with. But one of my questions to you is, that show was only on for 2 seasons, and I feel like it had some humor in it, and it had a lot of like family sort of comedy. Do you feel like that's something that you would revive, or you think that someone would revive that show in today's environment now with the technology we have?
It's a great question. So you want to hear a funny story. So that, first of all, that show I love that show. I love doing that show. And there is something very stony about that show too. So I know which I want to get to about why the podcast is called Still Toking. I assume I know why, but we'll hopefully talk a little bit more about that. But that show was very stony. There was, a part of my youth that was that dictated the humor in that show. But would it survive? So maybe I think what Dean and I did on that show was really just a bunch of improvising, having fun, making up shit. That was what we did every day, and that's what they hired us to do.
That's what it's supposed to be about, having fun.
That's and the other, so 2 stories on that. So there was a show several years later that I don't know if you guys remember this show, because I didn't know until they asked me to go on it, simply because they came from outer space. There was a show called Homeboys in Outer Space. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. That was on one of the, 5th, 6th networks, and they loved our show. So they asked me to be on their show as a cameo. So they did it, simply because of the love of that show. So that doesn't really answer your question, Rico. It does allow me to go on a mini tangent, but I love that show. I love They Came from Outer Space. Love it. It's a very soft spot in my heart.
I think it's a hilarious show.
You knew it was
right.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask you also was, if you believe that if the show, hypothetically speaking, was to be revived, since you brought up that it's kind of like a very like weedy, like not weedy, like stoner type of show.
Right.
Do you think that Mr. Chong would be making an appearance on that, since he's still doing shows and stuff?
Oh, totally.
I'd make an appearance on that.
I think we all would make an appearance on that.
Yeah,
I know Mr. Chong definitely would.
This is totally one of those shows where if you watched all the episodes, a lot of people that were on that show eventually were people that you would recognize, those that were, around in the 80s and, the 70s and the 60s. One of the episodes we had, well, there were 2 people that I remember specifically, but Ruth Buzzy was on one of the episodes. And, for those of us that are over 50, remember Ruth Buzzy from Laugh-In days. And that was an absolute incredible thrill to have her on one of those episodes. But those kind of cool people. So I could definitely see Tommy Chong being on one of the episodes. We would actually.
Oh, I know he would say yes.
Oh yeah, I mean he said yes to coming on our show. I mean,
yeah. He's been on my show 3 times, dude. Like, yeah, he would 100% say this.
Well, that's because you're a Tommy Chong, Never mind.
Dude, I listen, I did not grow up with none of this stuff. I started discovering all of this culture in 2008, my man. So I have a lot of catching up to do.
Oh yeah. I mean, I grew up listening to Cheech and Chong records. That was my jam.
That was me. It was all albums before I'd ever seen, any of their live shows.
I remember cassette tapes. That's as far back as I can go.
So you missed something.
Tapes. Yeah.
Rico, one of their albums, they did an album called Big Bamboo.
Paper. Yeah.
And so in Big Bamboo, you open up the album and inside of it were rolling papers.
Rolling paper, yeah.
Big ones.
Yeah. Gigantic ones.
Size,
it was the size of the album.
Yeah.
I bet you I still got it in the attic somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, I for sure have it. I kept all that shit. All that.
Stuart, we got to make this happen. Like, this needs to happen. Like, this.
What, the
this
reboot?
is
Rico's going. He's going for the reboot, folks.
Hey, the next
100%.
generation, whatever, senior version, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. They came from outer space again. Do whatever.
Bro, at this point, it would be more like a documentary with everything that's happening nowadays. It's like, what is this real?
There was a lot of political shit going on at that time, and we don't need to get into it, but I mean that was definitely it was a fun show to be on. I remember, so Dean and I had worked together previously on that summer on a movie called Ski School.
Ski School, yes.
And
yeah, I remember that one too.
that's one of those movies that lives on in cult infamy. I mean, it probably is one of the movies, and besides some of the stuff that we've talked about that I'm known for. But Dean and I met on that movie and immediately, formed a chemistry that was just, clearly we just worked well together. So improvised a lot. My background was in improvisation. So after we came back from shooting that movie in Canada, we became like good friends. And then a bunch of shows started coming up that we both auditioned for. So this came up, and this was to launch a 5th network called the Hollywood Premiere Network. And it was going to be launched with 2 other shows called, do you remember these 2 shows? Called She Wolf of London.
Yep.
And the other one was called, oh shoot, I don't remember the other one. But there were 3 shows. Mine was one of them, where they came from outer space, She Wolf of London, and Shades of LA. I cannot believe I remember that. Shades of LA.
No, I don't remember that.
So the idea, they were going to launch these 3 shows together, and they were going to try to create this 5th network that eventually turned into the WB, I think.
Okay.
Here in LA. It was aired locally.
Mm-hmm.
It was aired in a few markets, LA, New York, and I think New Mexico, which is strange.
Mm-hmm.
So Dean and I came back from Ski School, and then we got the script together, and we thought, why don't we audition together playing these different roles? So we were both going to go in for the same role, but we split them up. So that's sort of how that all started. Got the ball rolling.
That's pretty cool.
So we improvised all this shit, all this stuff on our audition. We just didn't care. So we made up all this stuff. And one of the things, so if you watch the show, one of the signature improvs that we did was a takeoff on a movie called Crazy People. That movie was with, I want to say, Dudley. Have you ever heard of it? Dudley Moore, David Paymer.
It does sound familiar.
David Paymer's a character actor. It took place in a psychiatric ward, and it was supposed to be a comedy. But David Paymer played a guy who his issue was everything that he picked up, he would greet.
Hello. Dudley Moore, Daryl Hannah, Paul Reisner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. That's why it sounded familiar.
Right.
So I have seen it. Yeah.
So David Paymer was everything he picked up. He went, hello, how are you? How you doing? hello, bottle, nice to see you. And so Dina and I thought that was hysterical. So everything we picked up while we were working on ski school, everything we picked up, we did the same thing. Hello, Pen, how are you? Oh, how are you? So then anyway, so that translated into this song that we made up for They Came From Outer Space called Hi, Hello, How Are You? So if you watch that show, that's where that came from. So we did that on the audition and they did not know what to make of it. In fact, one of the producers said at the end of our first audition, we just made up so much stuff. We did the script, but we made up all this stuff. One of the producers said, love the writing, hated the acting. That's what his feedback was. Eventually we booked it.
Damn.
That's a little history. Little bit more than you wanted probably to know.
No, that's great. That's great.
Absolutely
And
not.
just real quick to all our viewers and listeners later, if you want to find out more about the amazing guest that we have tonight, make sure you check the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. So, and
Cool.
all his socials are in there, links to his websites. So that's where it's at.
You can ask me anything, and my career is an open book, and so all the stories I tell are all true. So anything you want to ask away.
I got another question, Stuart. Mr. Stewart, I'm sorry.
Why are you calling me Mr. Stewart?
It's
Are you my maid?
I am brown. I'm brown enough, Stuart. Look, like we can make this happen.
That's what my maid calls me. I don't understand why she calls me that either. It's just Stewart.
I'm losing control here. You have like a very, which is rare in actors and in writers and all these little things that you can do in Hollywood. You have a really diverse set of movies that you've done, from Teen Wolf 2 to It Came From Space to you've done cameos and MacGyver. Had you planned that out, that you just wanted to grab anything that happened, or how did you pick like where you were gonna go?
I think originally when I first started in 1984, I just wanted to act. And so because my background was in improv, a lot of what I did lent itself to comedy. So most of the auditions that I had around that time, 84 to 94, I would improvise, and so that lent itself to comedy. So originally, I think that I got cast a lot as like the best friend's lead. That's just kind of, and as an actor, you have to embrace that. And if you don't embrace it and you push against it, then you're probably going to not work a lot. You're going to push against type. So, I mean, I thought at that time, best way for me to be a working actor was to work, was to get jobs. And then eventually when I grew up or I got older, there was the business forced me to be an adult. So transitioning, going from playing high school in Beans Baxter and some of the other stuff, and then going to play in Teen Wolf 2. I was in college, and then They Came From Outer Space was like a young adult comedy once again. Eventually, I sort of transitioned into roles like playing attorneys on Courthouse and NYPD Blue, and there was a show I was on called Murder One, Philly. Of those, so it sort of was a move for necessity. It really was. It wasn't a plan at all. I mean, I think that's what a lot of actors do, and some are successful out of it on it, Rico, and some, don't do it anymore because they made choices. I've worked with actors who made those choices early on and then never worked again because no one wanted to work with them because they were either assholes or they simply didn't want to work on projects that I would work on.
It's interesting you say that because that's a question that I always ask people when we're talking about acting is, do you fear being cast type? Because you look at people like Stephen Amell, for example. He did Arrow for 9 years, and now it's like you're Green Arrow, but he got out of that and started doing action movies. Whereas the man who played Superman in Smallville, he was like cast type for a very long time, and he didn't do much after that. How do you handle, or how do you recommend someone handling avoiding that or going with the wave?
Well, there's a lot of actors who have been able to do that successfully, break out of that, and I would definitely I'd point to two specifically in my head because those people made those choices. Michael Keaton, certainly is one of them, who was in originally was in Night Shift, and then when obviously his career took off, he rode that wave, and Johnny Dangerously, Mr. Mom, then he was he was in Beetlejuice, but then I remember reading that he would do Beetlejuice. He would took the role in Beetlejuice if he could play Batman in Tim Burton's movie, and they were like, the executives like, what the fuck, what? That's not something that we see you doing. And so he was like, listen, they go together. I'm doing Beetlejuice. This is my understanding. I'll do Beetlejuice if I can get cast in Batman. So eventually he then, started to do more dramatic roles. He was in one of my favorite movies. He was in it. It is one of those little known movies called Clean and Sober. Yep, you don't know it.
No, what is that about? Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, so it was after it was a couple years after Batman, right? So he was already starting to transition out of comedy, wanted to do more dramatic roles, and he took on this role. It was directed by Glenn Gordon Caron, I think, who did Moonlighting. It's about a man who is addicted to coke, and he is a very...
See, I said it in the beginning. It's a hard drug, man.
Yeah. Well, watch this. It's painful to watch this movie, and it's an amazing performance. It's heartbreaking. And I just remember at that time in my career making an impact on me because I was, still studying quite a bit. I wanted, I was doing a lot of theater. So I was thinking, the trajectory of my career, I sort of wanted to emulate what he had done. If you haven't seen it, it's a little dated, but, you see Michael Keaton today, and you think of, the roles that he has played recently because of the resurrection of his career because of Birdman, and you think about those earlier roles. That's the role that I think of. Someone like Bruce Willis, who has obviously been in the news a lot lately. He's another guy who was trying to transition his career from Moonlighting to, then he was an action star, but he wanted to be taken seriously as an actor. So what did he do? He took small roles in larger movies like Pulp Fiction, like Boxer in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who do that. If you've seen Deadpool 2, there's a cameo with I think Matt Damon. I think it was that he's one of the characters that gets electrocuted, and you only see his face for like a quick second. I'm pretty sure it's Matt Damon. Matt Damon was in The Shooter, right? And The Bourne Identity.
Yeah, he was.
So it was Matt Damon. Yeah, it was Matt Damon. He's in Deadpool. Like, it was like really weird. It was like
I didn't know that
for a minute. Oh. Yeah, most people don't. That's a little cameo that most people, they don't realize that. But my wife and I love Deadpool, so that's one of the things that I know.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Though. Deadpool 3 is probably going to be awesome.
It's going to be fire. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
it's going to be amazing. Right. I'm throwing that out in the universe. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Or as I say, amazeballs.
Amazeballs.
God, I haven't heard that in forever.
I love it.
I'm trying to translate that in my head, and I can't come up with anything that's rated PG.
Well, it's one of those, like,
This is the guy that threatened to show his testicles before the show.
Oh, yeah.
No hablo.
There's a line in Splash. I don't know who it is. It's like a character actor when Daryl Hannah's coming out of the water by the Statue of Liberty, and there's a tour going on, and the tour guide sees her come out of the water, and she's completely nude, and he goes, "Bocce balls!" Do you remember that? Bocce balls. That's how I would do the line reading for Amaze Balls. Amaze
Right?
Balls.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I think I kind of did that. So I did an episode of Sledgehammer. You ever heard of this show?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
great show. It was a takeoff on the Clint Eastwood character, Dirty Harry.
Okay.
The character actor, David Rashi, who's working today, amazing actor, plays this character very similar to Dirty Harry, and it's a comedy. It's like a sitcom. And his name was Sledgehammer. It's a little campy.
Like the Rockford. He's like Rockford kind of.
Yeah, a little bit like Jim Rockford. Yeah. And there's so I played, was like one of my early roles in like 85 or something. And I played like some punk. And, that was a couple of things that I did. I played punks. And the name of the punk, this is terrible, but the name of the guy, the character's name was 8-Track. So it gives you an idea how long ago it was 8-Track.
Oh god.
Wow.
So anyway, the kids get into trouble, and there's one scene I'll never forget when I saw that I got to say it. So the lead character comes to save the kids, and my character 8-Track gets to scream out, "It's Sledgehammer!" And that was just about the exact reading, and all I could think of was bocce balls.
Bocce balls.
Bocce balls. That's solid.
The three of us are going to be on other episodes later down the road, and we're just going to be like, bocce balls.
Oh, I'm going to go record an episode after this, and it's going to be 3, 2, 1, and we're live. Bocce balls! Like 100%.
Well,
it's happening.
Next time you watch Splash and you see that scene, then
I can remember the scene fine. I can't remember
that scene. Although in my defense, I saw Splash in like 2014.
Yeah, but don't you guys have like, lines from movies that roll around in your head that whenever you see something?
I got 3 languages stuck in my head, man. Like it's Ben can tell you. Yeah, and they're fighting, and they're all angry too. Like it's like, ah! And you're like, oh god, like what is this?
They all argue with each other.
They do sometimes. Like you'll hear like
look at now you're scaring him. You're scaring him. Look at him. He's like, what the fuck did I get into here?
It's like, what am I doing?
So I do want to bring up another movie that you've been in. It's an awesome movie and actually a great song by one of my favorite bands. Godzilla.
Oh yeah.
1998 Godzilla. How was that?
Oh my god. A huge thrill. Amazing. So if you know about the series, right, the old Godzilla series. So I grew up with those. So I grew up in a household where I have an older brother who controlled the television set. So it was always Stuart, go change the channel. I want to watch this, or keep going, change the channel. So my brother was he liked old movies with, old, black and white movies with William Powell and Edward G. Robinson, and then also loved monster movies. So those original Godzilla movies stuck in my head for many, many years, and they have a very special place in my heart. And we can talk about all of those Godzilla movies. So when a former actor turned producer, Dean Devlin, was rebooting the Godzilla franchise, because he had done, I think by that point, he wrote Universal Soldier. But Dean Devlin was an actor.
Another great movie.
Is that the one with Van Damme?
Yes.
Okay, I remember
I think he wrote that. Not sure, but I think he did. So then he produced Independence Day.
Yeah.
So of course that blew up, and so they gave him the rights to be able to reboot Godzilla.
Yeah.
They were casting Godzilla, and so I went in for a very small role. And supposedly the story is that there's a friend of mine who's in it, who's a character actor, been around for many years. His name is Malcolm Daynar. He was in Lords of Discipline and Heaven Help Us, and then eventually Godzilla. He was friends with Dean Devlin, so they were looking through tapes, and Malcolm was like, "Hey, there's Stuart, put him in the movie." So I get a call like a month later, 6 weeks later, that I got a chance to go to work for Dean, and in this pivotal scene, which I was amazed that they kept it in. So the things I remember was going to the set at Columbia in Culver City. Very first thing they do was they cut all my hair off. So they like shaved my head. So you can't see it because I'm wearing a hat, but I was like literally for one day they took off all my hair. My hair was significantly longer than it is now. And then having like some of the special effects around. I remember Dean walking around with the baby Godzilla. Eventually, the film was released, and I got to go see it at the iconic Cinerama Dome with my wife, and was thrilled to see that the entire scene that I did was in the movie, and it was just incredible. So the movie, I'm curious, now that I've talked about it, I'm curious what your view is compared to the recent reboot, because I have my opinion. I'm curious as to yours.
I love all of them because I'm the same way. I remember watching Creature Feature. I remember watching Godzilla, and I've always loved it. So every time there's a reboot of a Godzilla or something like that, King Kong, I'll watch it. And even if it sucks, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It's just that's just one of those things that, you know, I'm just one of those people. I'm just kind of like,
yeah,
don't talk to me right now.
Yeah, they had to pay me a lot to cut my hair off, Stuart. I'm just saying. That's
They didn't pay me a lot, Pops. I mean, to be honest, I probably would have done it for free and just the residuals on it. I mean, you know,
I'm really attached to this stuff, though. I'm just saying. They'd come at me with the scissors. I'd have said, "Ho, ho, ho, ho! Where's my check?"
Well, that's why he's an actor and you were not. Sometimes you got to give a little to get a little.
So sometimes, so I was doing this TV movie a long time ago, and it was an extremely influential movie of the week back when they were doing movie of the week sort of TV movie. There was an actor, so there were 3 actors that played very good friends. One was a lead actor. The story was about teenage pregnancy. And so the guy had a couple friends. I played one of his friends. Another actor played one of his friends. And the other actor had a pivotal scene at the end of the movie, which took place like a year after they graduate from high school. And this student decides to make this terrible decision to have a child. And so the other actor had a pivotal scene with the main character, but he refused to cut his hair. And so had a fight with the director. And so he was cut out of the scene, and I was put into the scene because I would trim my hair. And it is one of the best scenes in the entire movie. So there you go, Pop.
Like I said, Pop, sometimes. Listen, I had hair.
Would have cut his hair off and then not.
I had hair twice as long as yours all through high school. It was literally touching my ass until I went to work with my co-host who trained me in the construction industry. And he actually drove me to the barbershop one day and said, if you want to keep your job.
What does having hair feel like?
Oh, dude, it's awesome.
I love how you all had the same reaction. Oh,
well, then I looked at you and went, oh, yeah, that's right. He's fucking bald.
I have alopecia.
Well,
it's wonderful, guys.
Hair feels nice, but I want to know, how does the wax feel?
Oh, wow. I can't wait for this answer.
Honestly, here's the thing. I enjoy having my head shaved because when I'm trained in jiu-jitsu and I feel my wet, and I'm going to be nasty for a minute, my wet and sweaty hair touch the mat, but if it's just my head, it feels nice. Plus it's cooler. Like, it's cooler.
Yeah,
and chicks dig it. I don't know if you know this, but
it's, you know what, Rico, it's all in how you wear it, man.
Right. And I was going to go in the opposite direction, Rico. I was going to say, yeah, but that's not the head they told you to shave, Rico.
But I got wigs for. Don't worry about it. I'm going to do all right.
You got a Merkin? A Merkin wig? Is that what you're saying? Am I missing something?
Oh God,
you guys sell those?
Oh God, no!
You-
Man,
or-
he jumped on that, bro, like a tiger on the prowl. Like, wait a minute.
I think he's one of us, Ben. I think he's one of us, man.
I'm just saying, to Leo and Jeff that are on here tonight, you see what happens when you guys on here? I derail shit quick, real quick.
So, Stuart, I have a question about the Godzilla thing. You said earlier you had your opinion on it. I personally think I've seen the old ones like from Japan and the new ones. I like that these things are being, how do I say this? I like that we're adding technology to make it look better and like feel better. But at the same time, I feel like it loses a little bit of that essence. Like when you see like the old ones, when they looked at Godzilla, you could see the fear. And in the new ones, to me, I don't feel like there's that fear of this gigantic nuclear creature that should be a Pokemon that is just coming out of the water to fuck everything up. And then you have these other gigantic creatures that should be Pokemon too that are coming out. Like, that's just my opinion. How do you feel about that?
Where do you think Pokemon came from, man?
Pokemon was born from Godzilla?
Hell yeah, think about it. They're pocket monsters. All they did is shrink them.
Yeah, it's true.
Godzilla is nothing more than a Charizard.
That is not my opinion.
Oh, look at Ben.
Oh God, no, I am not.
Ben breaking out the Charizard reference.
Yeah,
that's when Ben got a knock on the door. Hello, this is Nintendo, Mr. Ben.
Yeah, right.
So I told you earlier, I'm in the process of moving, so I'm pulling the stuff out that I have to give to the kids. And since you mentioned it, look at that. It's the big boy Charizard.
Oh, wow.
It's the big one.
It's an EX one.
Okay. And he just dropped the cert.
Ah! He just dropped the $300 card. That's all right.
But he landed in my lap. He survived.
My son.
Yeah, I had to separate a bunch of stuff that I leave in here that it's the kid stuff and whatnot.
My son used to collect the cards, and he had a poster, and he prided himself on knowing every single Pokemon.
What do you mean prided? I still know the original 151.
Oh, okay.
But
listen,
Stuart, I'm hurt. Like
on the other side of that green screen, 2 doors away, is a 31-year-old son of mine that can tell you every single one of the fucking Pokemons and where they're from.
Yeah, my son's
it's not normal. It's not normal.
My son.
That's how you get those panties to drop, Ben. You just don't get it.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that what I've been doing wrong?
Bro, you go to Comic Cons all the time. Stuart, you go to Comic Cons too. You see all these chicks dressed up.
Yeah.
You just want a nerdy boy that can name all 151 Pokemon, bro. That's
Look,
all they want.
my son could do it. He's caught them all. He's had every version of every game.
Wow.
Okay? When the grandkids started wanting to play, they didn't get to play on the PlayStation. They had to start with the Game Boy, just like.
Oh, bro, that's how I started.
Exactly. We made the grandkids start.
1999, bro. I remember that bulky thing that I used to have to like have a lamp that definitely probably gave me cancer. I was playing on that shit late at night. Like, I remember that.
The blue one, the silver one, the black one. We got all the versions. All the, we made them do it all the same way that my son did it. Right. He made them progress the same way.
Stuart had something to say.
I was just going to say, well, first of all, I was going to say I had no idea that this conversation would venture into a very serious discussion about Pokemon.
Neither did I.
I really did not. I didn't anticipate that.
You started talking about Godzilla.
Well, I know. Well, Pops brought up the fact that Godzilla was born out of Pikachu. So
I wouldn't say that.
Well, bringing it back to Rico's question. First of all, I don't have any problem in any of the stuff that I've done taking a critical view look at it. It just is. It's not something that I've ever had a problem with any of the work that I've done or any of the shows that I've done. The answer is, I like to be entertained. So, I love the fact that that Hollywood continues to reboot things as long as they're entertaining and they're bringing something new to the table. Mm-hmm. So, my personal opinion about the Godzilla I didn't really care for it. However, it took a life of its own. It was played nonstop after it hit, cable and the cable channels and pay TV. It took a life of its crazy as it seems. It was played over and over and over and over again. So clearly people enjoyed it, which is fantastic. However, I will say the new version of it, or the one that was rebooted again with Bryan Cranston, I really like that. I really like the more realistic approach. The one that I was in was a little campier. It was a little campier. It was a little ha-ha, a little cutesy, and it sort of went along with what they were producing at the time, which that team was producing. Dean and the director. I don't remember the director's name. It'll come to me, but I prefer the new versions. That's just my take on it.
When you say entertained, what do you mean by entertained? Like that you enjoy doing it, that you like the writing, you like the vibe of it? Like what do you mean by that?
Well, I'm just talking about, just as a moviegoer, like you, like an audience member. That's all I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that, that I was in that movie and thankfully I have a nice chunk of, film that I was a part of. It definitely means way more to me than my personal opinion of how it came out. That's just, the same thing can be said for Teen Wolf 2. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations about that recently. Last year was the 35th anniversary, so I did, a couple of podcasts discussing that. I don't think it's it's not a great movie. It's not nearly as good as the original, but it's, to each his own. Everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has their own. Exactly, a job's a job. Thanks, Vic.
I think also the problem is that, and this is just, I'd like your opinion on this, is I think a lot of people do a lot of gatekeeping. Does that make sense? And I think a lot of times, like you see this, like I'm a big horror fan, right? Like, who's the nice woman that we had from The Hills Have Eyes?
Sarah.
I can't remember her name, but we had the blonde from the original Hills Have Eyes, Ben.
Oh. Yeah, I can't remember her name.
I can't remember her name right now. Lovely woman. And that was one of the things that we had talked to her. She's a scream queen, is like people just like to gatekeep. And I feel like I see that happening a lot. Like, do you think that's part of the issue? Because that's how I've always felt when it comes to movies, and people are like, well, fuck Teen Wolf 2 or fuck Teen Wolf 1. And I'm like, what's the problem? Like, why are we doing this? Enjoy the fucking movie. Like, do you feel like that's something that happens?
I think that people have so what I found today is a lot of people have like a personal affiliation with whatever they've seen. I mean, it's the reason why we're all having this conversation now is, quite clearly I haven't done a lot of work lately, but a lot of the work that I did do resonates with a lot of people that, that saw it in the 80s and 90s and throughout, it's the only reason why, Ski School is literally a cult classic. I still get contacted constantly about that movie. Not as much, for They Came from Outer Space, because it wasn't shown that all over the nation. It was very specific, although I know that, people that did see it like it. So people get protective of those memories, Rico. If we're talking seriously about it, that's what I think people do. People get very personal about those movies. So like a movie like Teen Wolf 2, like I said, when I saw it, I was like, this is not that good. It's not nearly as good as the first one. And for me as an audience member, all I could think was they had an opportunity to capitalize on a successful franchise. And what did they do? They ended up duplicating it. But for people that were, 13, 14, 15, 16 at the time, they don't give a shit about that. All they care about is what emotion that is evoked when seeing that movie. So I don't know if that answers your question. I know.
It does. It does. Because it's more what you're trying to say. It's more of people have an emotional attachment to what they see. And when they feel like that's being taken away, they get defensive, which is understandable.
Totally.
You know, it's like it's a feeling attached to that, and you don't want to see. It's like Star Wars, for example. Not to go on a dark hole on here, but you see that a lot, and that totally explains a lot. Then I
just
appreciate
want
that.
to say, from an artist's job is to elicit an emotional response. Okay, a director's job, a writer's job, an artist's job is to elicit an emotional response. Whether good or bad makes no difference. If they got you to respond emotionally to what they did, it's a success.
It's true. It's true.
When you look at it from that side of it, then you go to the button seats. Okay, I came into this whole podcasting thing and everything from a fan's position, a comic fan's position.
Yep.
Okay, so when I read a book, if I get an emotional response, if it touches me, then I want to see the next book, right? That's pretty much how all of it works. Entertainment is touching your fans.
Yeah.
I think you're reading a lot of erotica, Pops. I think you got to.
Yeah, we do a lot of cons. You can't touch the fans. Don't touch
Those
the
are
fans.
spectator sports. I'm not into that. I'm a participator. It's like every time we get one, you got a Twitter account. You get hit with those OnlyFans account. Every girl on there trying to get you to follow them, right? I delete them as fast as they follow me. I don't play into that crap. I'm trying to promote artists, writers, comics. I don't need 50% of my followers to be OnlyFans girls. No. I need my followers to be fans, creators, all that stuff. People like Stuart. We have a huge network. There's other people in our network that are going to want to talk to you. Okay, so don't be surprised if you get some of the showrunners from the Madness hitting you up saying, "Hey, you want to come on our show?"
Oh, good.
Ever
I
since
would say that there is,
we kind of pass some people back and forth. It's like, look, this person fits on your show. You need to talk to this person, whatnot. It's all about networking and getting, if you get the fans excited about what you're doing, no matter what it is.
No, it's true. It's true. I mean, Jeff and I found that out 4.5 years ago. So to touch on something you asked way earlier, Stuart, about the name of the show, Still Toking.
Yes.
My business partner and I were sitting on a beach in St. Lucia with our wives, talking about a T-shirt business that we had 30 years ago about the benefits of cannabis. But back then we didn't have the internet. We were advertising in like High Times magazine.
Yep.
And it really didn't do anything. Life happened, blah, blah, blah. So we were sitting on the beach and I said to him, I found all the old stuff. And then we started snowballing. And I said, the two biggest things in the country right now are zombies and the decriminalization of cannabis. I said, we got to mix them. Nobody's ever done it. So we wrote, I started writing a novel. He's more of the editor, but he'll look over my shoulder and go, it needs something like this. And I'll go, oh, yeah. We actually wrote a novel called Toking with the Dead. From the novel,
those two things together,
we took cannabis and weed and stuck it together. But we also put ourselves as the main characters in the comic because we've known each other for 36 years. We have a very slapstick humor. See, there's the cover of the comic.
And because I'm that kind of guy,
right?
I freaking have one. I have all.
So we kind of did things ass backwards. And instead of releasing the novel, we pulled 5 comic books from the novel that we didn't think were going to do much, and it kind of exploded. Yeah. So from that, we have done, many events, but we have the 5 comics, the novel. We started this broadcast 4 years ago on one platform. Now we're on 22 worldwide with over 250,000 viewers. We've filmed 2 episodes of the TV series with Diamond Production Studios in New York. We have a 2.5-minute animation pitch out. So that's kind of where the Still Toking came from. It came from that little, he's got Bill Diamond's autograph down there in the corner. He's all excited. Look at him.
I held out
but that's how the show actually started, just like what we started, as a joke. And it all I went to Jeff. I said, I want to start an online show. He goes, no effing way. It's way out of my comfort zone. And at the time I looked at him and said, well, we have a very good friend, Philo Barnhart from Disney, who created The Little Mermaid, worked on Star Trek, numerous other things. And it was the 30th anniversary for The Little Mermaid, and he had been interviewed. Nobody posted it. So I kind of pulled the heartstring, got Jeff to commit to doing one show, and here we are 4 years later still doing it.
So the online show was a podcast.
So this live broadcast show, we started right before COVID, and it was just something. It was just something to get people in front of fans, because everybody has seen something that you've been in, but who is Stuart? Where is Stuart? What's he up to? What's he do? And my question, and because I didn't ask many questions, because I've been listening to everything that you guys have been saying and really into the conversation, but I've been looking over your shoulder, and there's a football in a case.
Yes.
So I would assume you're a sports fan.
I am a sports fan.
And just curious, who's the autograph?
That is an autograph it's coincidentally enough, so I live in LA. So I'm an LA sports fan. That is a football signed by Joe Montana.
Very nice.
I got at a auction. At a raffle.
At a
raffle. A raffle. And that's a football signed by Joe Montana. So in front of me, which you can't see, so you can see the pictures here, the Beatles here, and then there's a picture of them playing on the roof there. And then right there is a picture of Florence, Italy. But in front of me here is a bunch of sports memorabilia, a picture of Magic Johnson, Larry Bird signed by them.
Very nice.
Larry Bird retired, and then a picture of my four favorite Dodgers are there as well from the 70s. So cool. Yes, I'm a huge sports fan, and I'm a
very cool
memorabilia collector.
That's excellent.
A little bit. I got a little bit of cool stuff too.
Yeah. See, most of mine's all Boston stuff, but
it's all good. Hey, listen, there's Larry Bird right there, man.
You said it. You said it right there. And that, when he retired, no offense, when he retired, I kind of stopped watching basketball. It just wasn't the same anymore.
Why would that?
That genre, I should say, Bird, McHale, Magic Johnson, that whole genre. When that kind of phased out in the late '80s, I was just like, this is not fun anymore.
So you weren't a fan of Boston when they literally took over the NBA again with Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen? You weren't a fan of that?
I was like, oh, cool, we won.
Look at his eyes, Stuart. His eyes switching.
No. Yeah. I mean, I fell out of my seat backwards, and the Red Sox broke the curse. I was like, holy shit, it actually happened. And then when the Bruins took the cup in 2011, I was like, I get to buy a bigger TV.
But the Patriots won so much that it just became, and then we won again, right?
That's true.
I live in Missouri, so the Chiefs are like always doing something. So, and I'm a Ravens fan, so
yeah.
You probably guessed that my wife pegs me, and you're right. So
So listen, we only got a couple minutes.
Oh, with a Chiefs dildo. Sorry.
So, any last questions from either you or you two?
No, I thank you so much for doing this. Like it's
Pops.
It's
you got a last question for our amazing guest?
Well, I think we asked before the show if he had anything coming up that he was excited about. And he said,
so I've got some things that I'm trying to develop now that involve some of the stuff that I've done in the past, but taking a more satirical view of them, because I think that when you pull up anything that's that old, or like 10 years, then you have to have another take on it. I know we sort of mentioned that earlier, that you better come at it in an original way. So some of the stuff that I'm trying to develop is more satirical, but it's definitely around some of the stuff that we've talked about and discussed, and some of it does involve Dean Cameron as well. So he's another dude that you should have him on your radar. He's a fun interview too.
So hopefully another It Came from Outer Space with Tommy Chong in it.
Right. Yes.
Welcome.
I mean,
It would be a welcome addition. I wish that's the one thing, Rico, that throughout all my career, I wish that show continued. It should have continued.
Well, you never know. You never know. You never know who's
This is
watching.
the age of the reboot. I'm just saying.
Right.
This
Totally.
is the age of the reboot. As long as you do it right.
Exactly what I said, Pops. Exactly.
Where
what
would
I
it
said,
go
dude.
though? Like, what network would you put it? Like,
It's cable. I mean, if you watch that show, there was always a hint of sex in it. There was always like a scantily clad bikini girl walking through there. There was always hints.
I think Netflix would be better for that, Stuart.
Yeah.
I think
whatever.
There's 100 streaming services
Exactly.
out there. We can find one that would work. Trust me.
We're
We're affiliated with quite a few of them.
you need to make this, dude. I would have a heart attack if you announce, and we're doing it with Tommy John. I would 100% probably like pass out. That would be a pretty cool thing to watch.
Yeah, so if people want to go to my website, they can go to stuartfratkin.com. They can ask me questions. A lot of that website I built has a lot of the original scripts and call sheets and photos from all the shit that I've done throughout the years that I share with fans. So go there, ask me questions, read the scripts, look at my notes and all that stuff. It's
And in
fun.
case you guys missed that website, just check the show notes up above or down below because it's in there. Trust me.
It's in the chat over there too for those of you
Right.
watching on the Madness.
So now that Stuart, so where do you like to interact with your fans? What social media platforms?
Probably the majority of the folks, the fans, contact me through Instagram or Facebook, or certainly they can email me as well.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Pops, you're up.
Madness Comic Network. You guys know what's up. The comic-related madness on Facebook, where it all began. Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube. We're on Twitter, Madness Comic. We're all over the place, man. We're everywhere. Everywhere.
Nice. So, and I know I heard another voice over there. Why didn't he let you come on the show with him tonight?
He wants to hog all of the attention for himself. He just can't help it.
I kind of figured that's what happened because I saw him look over and I'm like, Eric's over in the corner. He put Eric in the fucking corner. What a prick.
He did. And I didn't even do anything
Nobody
wrong.
puts Eric in the corner.
Exactly.
Eric in the corner, Rico.
Stuart, that was Joe. That was Joe.
I'm telling you. He's gonna peg you.
Rico, you're up, brother.
Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for Mr. Stewart for answering the questions. It's been awesome. I feel like we have so many more things we could talk about, but you can follow myself and my co-host Eric McElroy on the Rico Podcast, and it's the Rico Podcast on everything, on Apple, YouTube, everywhere. Spotify, everywhere. So thank you so much for having us, Ben. We appreciate it.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Totally appreciate it.
I want to say thank you to my amazing co-host tonight, Rico from the Rico Podcast, Pops Van Zandt from the Comic Madness Network. Make sure you go over and check them out. We're here on the Dorkening Podcast Network. Tons of shows, tons of people doing tons of shit. I want to say thank you to Stuart, but most of all, I want to thank all our veterans and first responders for doing what they do so people like us can do what we do. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. We're out of here.